So as I was saying that we started our program in 2018 as a transferable degree program. It transfers to the CSUs and UCs. If any of you are interested in finding out more about the program and requirements, you're always welcome to talk to either Dr. Ponce or me. And we also have Kimberly Galbraith as our counselor who can help you with those questions. Now, the core course in our social justice program is Introduction to Social Justice, which we teach in several different modalities. We are lucky to have some of our Intro to Social Justice students here with us, as well as online. We are also trying to reach out into our community. So Professor Frank Ortega from sociology last spring taught the Intro to Social Justice in person at Alhambra High School in Martinez. Professors Mickey Huff and Albert Ponce taught another section of Intro to Social Justice at Mount McKinley Juvenile Jail also in Martinez. And we're trying to formalize that relationship by offering a certificate of accomplishment in social justice. And this is because we believe this is our community's program. And for that, we also have a community advisory board. We have local community organizations who partner with us, and they keep us grounded, and they keep our curriculum grounded. And that includes Monument Impact, Rainbow Community Center, a bunch of organizations, and we're lucky to have one of them here today. Dr. Ponce will tell you more about that. We are also an interdisciplinary program, so we're always looking to collaborate with our comrades in history, economics, health, sociology, poli-sci, and indeed our electives for the program are from many different disciplines. I also want to remind folks that on October 10th, which will be our next event, we'll be celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. And our brand new comrade in ethnic studies, Danny Cornejo, will be leading us in a discussion of our stories as the heart of theory. Now, I know you're eager to hear our speaker for today. So before we do that, before we begin with our program, I have a couple of folks to thank and also invite them to introduce themselves to you. I'll begin with Christina Gomez, who's our in-house tech expert, but she's so much more than that. She's our soul sister, right? And she's also here talking about the Dreamers Alliance today.
Thank you. Thank you, Sangha. It is so great to be here in community with you all, both in person and virtually. Again, my name is Christina Gomez. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm here on behalf of the Dreamers Alliance. We're a community of students, staff, faculty, and administrators that work to advocate for and support our undocumented students here at DVC and both in our community, and also collaborating on such critical events like this around migrant justice. I just want to shout out that we are collaborating in our district-wide Dreamers Conference. It'll be the third week of October, kicking off on October 17th with Reina Grande at CCC and wrapping up with renowned author Juan Gonzalez here at DVC, both in person and virtually. We have a awesome webpage that I'll put in the link, and I'll also share with you all here. It's undoc4cd.org that you can find all of our district events and information there. Thank you, and I'll pass it on to my colleague.
And now we have our wonderful Anthony Gonzalez from the Puente Project.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Sangha. Thank you, Christina. My name is Anthony Gonzalez. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm an English instructor here at DVC, and I'm a co-coordinator for the Puente Project. Shout out to the Puentistas who are in the room right now. And I see some of you on the Zoom call as well. So Puente is a program that works with students from underrepresented backgrounds, first generation college students. We support them in their educational journeys, and in return, they give back to the community and move on to be student leaders. So I'm very happy to be part of this event and to welcome Kimberly Galindo. And on behalf of Puente, I'm very happy to be here and excited to continue to collaborate with you. And I would like to pass it on to my colleague, Juan Huerta Villacana.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here in this great event. Just wanted to let everyone, all the students know that we do have a social justice club at DVC, which meets on Mondays from 3:30 to 4:30. In a while, I'll drop the information in the chat as well. Also might bring a flyer for that contact information, but if you're interested, for those of you who are here in person, you can always come in and ask me. They do meet Monday, 3:30 to 4:30 on LC 101, which is the building across from the Puma Center. So that's where they are meeting at this moment. So for all of you who are interested, please come and ask those questions. We're more than happy to link you up with the club. And now I will pass it on to.
All right, welcome everybody. So great to see so many people coming in and being in this space. And I'll just take a second, but what I want to really emphasize what's been said, we're back on campus. We're really excited. Pre-campus shut down. The space used to be packed. Now we're packed in the virtual world and here. And one thing that we're really thinking about doing and providing here is on the topic of migrant justice is extending our capacity beyond the campus and in our community. And that's why we have our speaker here today to really tell us about the resources, and the collaborations that we have with other organizations, and not only for our students, but everyone in our community. But I also want to frame our discussion on the principle of a human right, which is grounded in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the United Nations, that all human beings are born free, all equal in dignity and rights. But yet something happens in a process where nation states produce laws that delimit individuals' capacity to really live out their full potential. And that is driven from where nation states, do we have an echo now? And thank you all for being patient with the technology. We're working out some high-tech stuff here, so appreciate your patience. But going back to the principle of human mobility, that everyone is endowed with the right into existence and the right to a dignified life. But there is a lawmaking process initiated by nation states to limit human capacity to live. Right now, from the northern to southern borders, we are living out the legacies of settler colonialism, of imperialism that have a long history. And that's where I want to frame our discussion, to begin to understand that history of why people are forced to move from their place of origin, where they were born into a world by chance, but now our borders have been naturalized and the outcomes of violence have been almost just taken for granted by us. But we here at DVC say no. We here in Contra Costa say no. We say every human being has that right, and we will do everything in our capacity to work with everyone to live out a dignified existence. So one thing we must dispel as we begin to think the United States is not, we got to do away with the myth that the United States is a nation of migrants or of immigrants. It is not. That is a myth that actually continues the capacity for these forms of violence to continue as naturalized. This is a country by fact that was born upon violence, genocide, enslavement, a political economy that privileged a racial few, that enhanced and created the wealth and the land that continues to be resold, all premised on theft, on colonization. And we accept those norms as natural. And so today I want to let us know to really engage as students, as community members into what we can do to think globally, as the saying goes, and act locally here on our campus and beyond in the struggle for human rights, and that is migrant rights, everyone as having the mobility to move. So I want to welcome our speaker today, Kimberly Galindo, who we're so excited to have, who's on the ground doing this work every day in collaboration, in coalition, in solidarity with where she comes from and here in our community. Kimberly was born in Jalisco, Mexico. She was raised in Apple Valley, California, and attended her local community college, and later received her bachelor's degree in Chicanic studies at UC Davis, not far away. She's a DACA recipient and a seasoned community organizer with experience in immigrant rights, from speaking with Vice President Harris to researching the mental health of undocumented students in the UC system. As a coalition manager, Kimberly will utilize her experience working personally with immigrant communities and gives support to vulnerable immigrants and families. Kimberly believes that in order to achieve immigrant justice, we must end all expansion and efforts of institutions that criminalize migrants and obstructs them from pursuing a decent life with dignity wherever they should migrate the world over. So without further ado, let's give Kimberly Galindo a big round of applause, virtually and here in the space.
I can move over here, so then if you, okay, I'm gonna start out just by nose. No, it's okay. I'm gonna try to talk loud. Okay, I'm gonna try to talk loud. Can you all hear me? Jose, can you hear me in the back? My coworker Jose is here, so thank you for being here. Shout out to Jose. He's a great poet from Monument Impact. This is my first in-person presentation, so taking advantage of the swivel. It's a lot cooler in person, so if you're on Zoom, it's just kind of like a little robot that follows you everywhere, so I think it's really cool. But thank you all for being here in person. Again, the pandemic has, I feel like, robbed us from this human connection that we have. So it's really nice to see human faces, and I'm not sitting in my living room with my cats. So it's really nice. And to the people in Zoom, I see you too. Well, I did when I was sitting down, but yes. But thank you all for having me. Thank you to the professors in DVC, the Dreamers Resource Alliance, La Puente, and then the Social Justice Club as well. So I do appreciate you all taking the time for me to be here and yeah, just have a good time. So I did the presentation a little more of a college student aesthetics, very Y2K, try to be young, but I don't know. I feel like when you say that, you're not young. So let's just go with the Y2K theme. But yeah, if you want, we can definitely move on to the next slide. I was gonna bring donuts, but I didn't know how many people we were gonna have. But if y'all get me next time, I'll bring you some mochi donuts. So, and I'm hoping my nieces and nephews are watching me too. So, oh, perfect. And I can see it too. This technology, wow. Like, I feel like a TED talker. So we're gonna go over a couple of things. We're gonna go over organizing in the East Bay. It's gonna be a little bit different than San Francisco, Alameda County. We're gonna go into the migrant activism and then community activism and solidarity work. So we can definitely go on to the next one. Okay, so the history of, so I'm part of the org called Contra Costa Immigrant Rights Alliance. And this org was started in 2017, and it was right after the Trump era happened. And we all know when Trump came into office, it seemed like you were allowed to be openly racist and hate immigrants. And it really, it hurt us. Trump tried to end DAPA and DACA, and then he started the zero tolerance policy. And so what that meant was families at the border were being separated from their mothers. And still currently, even under the Biden administration, there's still children being locked in cages. Just because we have a Democrat in office does not mean that racism is over. If anything, Biden has deported more Black immigrants in his 6 months in office than Trump did in his 4 years. And you're like, but Trump was a racist with a bad tan. Yes, but Biden hasn't done really much about it. So just keep that in mind. Just because Trump is gone doesn't mean that the racist policies are all of a sudden gone. He's gone, which is good because he was not cute anyways. I mean, Biden isn't either, but you know what I mean, you know, at least Biden has like decent hair. I always wanted to be a comedian, so I feel like it's like coming out. So Sierra was created by community members in Contra Costa County, which is really nice. You get orgs that are pretty old and they lose their touch on where they grew organically. So the cool thing about Sierra is most of the people that are part of the coalition created it. The way that I got this job was one of the founders. I worked with her in a statewide coalition called Dignity Not Detention, and she told me about this job. So I took it really fast. So I'm happy to be here. And so that's something that I love about the org that I'm in. It's very organic, very grassroots, and you can actually see like the movement happening within your small community. And if you all have any questions, please let me know. I'm very interactive. So, but Zoom, I'll leave it to the professors when you guys tell me there's one. Okay, so our mission and purpose, as you can see it on the presentation, is to advocate on city and county-wide policies. This is something different that other orgs are not doing, or they might do like statewide and national. When you focus on city and county-wide policies, you are actually making more of a change than a state and national, because you can actually like see it. And we can go over all the things that are happening in Contra Costa County too. So which is very, very cool. Another mission is to lift up the voices of vulnerable immigrant communities. So one thing about our steering committee, it's 100% people of color. And I think 3 out of 4 of us are immigrants. So we really, really focus on that and just try to make sure like people who are leading the conversations are the ones affected by these policies and anything that's happening. And then obviously to train, educate, and have a deeper analysis of the criminalization. It's like you're criminalized for being an immigrant, basically. So you really try to dig deep and try to understand what that really truly means. And then having community and allies, because sometimes I never saw myself doing this, or like even thinking like, oh, like I'm an immigrant, let me try to change something about it. Like maybe I grew up in a more conservative part of town in Southern California, which is, it's kind of like the hills have eyes. So, I mean, it's not cute. Like, it's not cute like DVC, okay? DVC is really, really, it's a really nice school. So that's a privilege that you all have. Like there's trees, there's mountains, your transfer rate is pretty high. So even look within where you are sitting, even if it's in your living room. But we can go on to the next one. This is our steering. I appreciate them all. So I wanted to do a little shout out. Ali Saidi, he's basically, he's the bomb. He does everything. So he's part of the public defender's office, and he leads Stand Together Contra Costa. And Stand Together Contra Costa provides immigrant legal services for families who have a deportation case amongst them. And here in Contra Costa County, there's 5,000 family members who have someone that has a deportation case against them, which is 5,000 families who could be essentially separated. And the difference between Stand Together and like the difference between if an immigrant has a legal case and if a natural born citizen does, the natural born citizen gets a public defender for free. If you cannot afford one, the attorney will be provided for you. Hopefully y'all don't get arrested, but if you do not talk to the police, okay? Just don't. Zip it, get your attorney, okay? And then the immigrants, if you cannot afford an attorney, you basically don't have one. You're pretty much like done. So Stand Together provides these legal services for immigrant families who do need them. And it's a really, really important program that Contra Costa County has. And then we have Melanie Kim. Melanie Kim, she is the state director for the San Francisco Public Defender's Office, and she was with Asian Law Caucus. She's the brains behind most of the things that we do. So she's really amazing and really great. I learned a lot from her as well. Tony Bravo, he used to have my job. He's currently in New York, so yes, get that vacation. But he's my supervisor at Monument Impact, and he's amazing. And then we have Malika, who's here in person. And Malika is with California Immigrant Policy Center, which is a statewide org, and they have different policies from Food for All, Safety Net for All, and Immigrant Day of Action, and all these wonderful things. So you can see how diverse and different backgrounds we all come from, which makes our steering pretty great. Okay, so organizing. You think of organizing, you probably think of the lady from Netflix, Does This Bring You Happiness? I forgot her name. But organizing, it's a little bit different when it comes to in the East County, because it's easy to have organizing in San Francisco County. It's like little, but you can hit up one neighborhood within a day or two. Like it's very like dense. But if you do organizing in Contra Costa County, it's kind of like a little mix of the suburbs. You're going to need a car, you're going to need an umbrella because of the heat, you're going to need water bottles. You can't just go to one neighborhood and do organizing of housing rights. Like you really have to organize and think about who your audience is. It's not just, oh, like I'm going to put out a flyer in front of the supermarket and a lot of people are going to see it. It's a lot harder to organize in counties that are more suburbs, and Contra Costa County is like a suburb. The communication, assembling the right team, building capacity, seed funding, which is like how to get funding, because it's easy for orgs to get all this funding in Alameda County, San Francisco County, because it's like, yeah, everybody's there, but where are we? You know, like we're still in the East Bay, we still have resources. And Contra Costa County, it's so big. You go from like Walnut Creek to Brentwood to Concord and to Richmond. It's huge, very diverse. I just recently went to Point Ridge. Beautiful. I had no idea. Like it's really nice. So Contra Costa County, it's big, it's huge. It's going to take me a while to get to know Contra Costa County, but I'm getting there. But yeah, that's basically organizing in the East County, the challenges that it comes with and everything to that. And then we can go on to the next page. Something that I found was in the Contra Costa County, the population is 1.115 million, which you think that's a lot. And like in my head, I'm like, yeah, that is a lot. And then I wanted to, when you Google it, it comes up with like all these different races. It has like half of the county is 45% white, which is like, this is why having an ally is important in these sort of counties that are not so densely populated with people of color. Excuse me, I had boba. But then you have, and then 8.8 is Black, which is like, this is why we need more advocacy for folks in the room. And then Hispanics, and then you have white Hispanic. Okay, like, so it's, and this is online, and this is why I wanted to show you, it's like, we're not the ones making this, but yet we're the ones reading it. So it's like, this is why it's important to study what you study, and like the pamphlets that are being passed out on like the degrees that you can get from social justice. I wish I had this in community college. I would not have studied philosophy. Like, let me tell you that right now. Like, I would not. This is really interesting. This feels like what we need in 2022 when you study education and what you actually care about. And I spoke to you and you told me that you cared about your health, like within your community. That's amazing. That's great. I had boba. You can tell I'm like in the middle, but there's so many passions that you can have that you can make it to where it's for you. Like, I never thought organizing was a job ever. Like my family still doesn't think I work because I work from home. Like my grandma straight up thinks I don't work. So like but I do work. I do. I have 3 cats, so I have to give them a good life. We can definitely go on to the next one. Okay, so when Professor Ponce told me to present, he gave me this question. And the question was, what are ways and resources we can help students help beyond DVC? And so I put you, not the show you. I'm not going to stand in the corner, but it's you. And you can, there's so many different ways to be part of immigrants, and not just like an immigrant movement, but any sort of movement that you are a part of. Okay, so have you all heard of Measure X in Contra Costa County? No? Okay, so Measure X was a tax that was added in Contra, like a sales tax, I think in the last 3-4 years, and it raised over $200 million, which is a lot of money. And the Board of Supervisors, have you all ever attended the Board of Supervisors? I envy you. They're not that much fun. They are not fun. The Board of Supervisors created this MCAB, this Measure X committee of community members and leaders. And some of our steering was a part of that. And they heard the community needs, and people were like, we need animal services. And I'm like, yes, we need immigrant legal services. And I'm like, yes, they came up with all these different recommendations. And this money was supposed to be used for the community, okay? Like anything that we wanted. And people listened. But the Board of Supervisors decided to not fund immigrant legal services and give money to the sheriffs. And the issue with that is that the sheriff already takes a big chunk of the budget. In Concord alone, 56% of the city's budget goes to the sheriff. So why can't they figure out if they need that additional funds for their body cams within the budget that they already have? So this is what we mean when it's like community didn't want to fund the sheriffs for additional body cams. We wanted to fund what we wanted to fund. And it doesn't necessarily have to be immigrant legal services, but it could be healthcare services, different things. There was a ton of lists that the community wanted, but the Board of Supervisors doesn't listen. And as much as you try to make them listen, they really do not care about immigrants in Contra Costa County, and it shows. So it's shocking because this was a county of Board of Supervisors who said racism is a public health, but yet they do nothing about it. And so this is when we fight back, and when we try to mobilize, we have actions in front of like their Board of Supervisors, because it's like the money is there, like it's not coming out of your pocket. So it's very frustrating, but this is why it's like you can organize even with the Board of Supervisors. And then you have different things. So have you all heard of Contra Costa Cares? So Coco Cares was this program too. Healthy Richmond is the one leading it. They are amazing. Shout out to Roxanne and to Erica and Dante. They're great to work with. Contra Costa Cares is this program when you are from the ages 26 through 49, if you're undocumented, you don't get any Medi-Cal or Medicaid. And so what Coco Cares is provides healthcare services for undocumented immigrants in Contra Costa County. And that got passed this year. It took us a year of lobbying with the Board of Supervisors to really fight for it. Because yeah, it took some fighting behind the scenes to get that money. And so this is, if you love healthcare, that's something that you could fight for. There's also housing rights. My bestie at Monument Impact, Jenny and Vanessa and Tony, they do the housing rights. So in Antioch, they passed a citywide ordinance where your rent can't go up 6%, which is, it's really great because you think 6% isn't a lot, but my rent went up 6%. That's like $200. That's like, that's a lot. That could feed my cats, you know, like that's a lot of money. And so there's housing rights, language access. Most folks in Contra Costa County speak more than one language. So making sure that if they attend Board of Supervisors, City Council meetings, that it's both English and in Spanish or any language that they might need. The Truth Act, it makes transparency between the sheriff. We really try to check them. Even though Contra Costa County doesn't have an immigrant detention center, it does not mean that people are not yet being transferred into ICE. And so when you're an immigrant, and if you're an undocumented immigrant, you have that fear of getting pulled over, of doing something, being there at the wrong time, but you have to work to provide for your family. you know, and so that's something to also keep in mind. So the truth that is to make sure that the sheriff isn't cooperating with ICE or giving them ICE notifications when people are being released from jail after they serve their time. And which brings me back to the Vision Act. So Melanie Kim is a big leader on that. And the Vision Act is a statewide ordinance. If an immigrant does a crime, they finish their sentencing, what the state of California does is that they notify ICE and they get transferred to an immigrant, a for-profit immigrant detention facility. And so essentially they're being punished for just being an immigrant, being born in a different country. If you follow us on Instagram, we have a link tree, and then one of our fellow advocates, he was recently deported back to his homeland in Cambodia. So we're still trying to bring him back over here because he hadn't been there since he was like a child. So it's, you think of these things like, oh, it doesn't affect me. It's your neighbor, it's a student you're sitting next to, it's anyone you could know. It could be you. And so this is you, and this is like all this stuff that you could do that goes beyond Contra Costa County, but it really does focus on Contra Costa County. Ending of Title 42, we still have contact with immigrants who are at the border trying to come back in, which is we need to end Title 42. And what Title 42 is, it just basically stops people from coming into this country. Don't watch Fox News. It's the way to get your news now is TikTok, and most of the time they're correct. So I'm with TikTok on this one. But yeah, there's so many things that you could do in advocacy and in organizing and things like that. Even making TikToks, I don't know, I'm a TikTok person. So, but yeah, we can definitely go on to the next page. This is some of the flyers that we have when we have actions in Martinez. I know 9 a.m. could be kind of early, but you can make it yourself. You can make it Y2K. It's up to you. It doesn't have to be, I don't want to say boring, but you can make it your own. And that's what makes it organizing really, really cool. Like for college students, I made it Y2K. I could never do this with my funders. It would be like, what is Y2K? I'd be like, the 90s style, like, but yeah, but we can definitely go on to the next one. Obviously we talked about Stand Together Contra Costa and what it is and the importance of it. So yeah, and then 70 to 80% of the cases are asylum, and asylum cases are really hard to win, but gaining asylum is 100% legal. But the process of it is really, really long. And the importance of Stand Together is that in Concord, they're opening up an immigration deportation court. And so that court is going to be from 19 to 21 judges, and the court in San Francisco has 25 to 27 judges. So it's going to be a really big court. And so that's going to be meaning a lot of people are going to have a deportation case coming against them. And again, the Board of Supervisors know this, and they choose to not fund Stand Together. So shows to tell you they really do not care about immigrants in their county. But yeah, I'm going to run a shame campaign on them. This is some of the pictures that we have in front of the Board of Supervisors, the housing rights that we have. We also have Ali's wife. She runs a nonprofit for sign language. So we also have folks who do sign language at the protests. We give water and mini donuts. I'll bring the mini donuts, I promise. But yeah, Candace Anderson is a Republican, anti-immigrant, do better. You can put these people to shame because they really do affect your neighbors, yourself, your family members. So it's okay to speak your mind. Like you can pretty much tell anyone, I hate what you're doing. You're a sucky person. And because they are, because you can see that their morals do not reflect their politics. And they say like, well, I'm a good person. No, you're not. You're not. Candace Anderson. Okay, we can move on. Sorry. I gotta get it all out. So the Truth Act, again, the issue with this one is that the sheriff this year, they don't give us a notice when the Truth Act will happen. They tell us like 2 weeks before, and they expect us to have our stuff together with community members talking about it. But we can move on to the next one because I came with receipts. Okay, so over here, this was when we reached out to them about, hey, can you let us know when the Truth Act is going to happen? Like all the times we reached out to them and they never got back to us. So it's like, you say you care about, the sheriff says they care about community input and community outreach, yet they don't respond to us and they expect us to be there at those meetings. Like, you got me twisted. I'm not going to do that, you know? So we did a sign-on letter instead of going there in person and giving them an audience for them to make their spiel about, oh, we love immigrants. We don't transfer any of them out. We treat everyone with dignity. Yet we see ICE in Richmond. So it's like, it's not giving what it needs to give, you know? So these are all of our partners who signed on to the letter. We came with a receipt on when we reached out, what we reached out for, and things like that. So yeah, you can be petty in this job, and you have to, because just because they're the board of supervisors, the sheriffs, the city council, even the governor, the president, the vice president, you can be petty because you can show them the community needs the answers. You say you want community input, yet you ignore us or give us a 2 weeks notice. Like, we can't mobilize people within 2 weeks, you know, like, people have homes, you're a student, you have homework, you have to provide. The Bay Area is expensive. Like, so it's, yeah, it's okay to be petty when you need to, and you come with the receipts. I do not watch Bravo for nothing. So, but we can move on to the next one. Oh, is that my time? Okay. This is all of our pictures too. This is when we meet with our Senator Dodd. Yeah. He backed out last minute on the Vision Act, 0 out of 10. But I still like the picture of all of us, so it's okay. This is, we do attend a lot of San Francisco meetings to end Title 42 with some of our partners. We have the housing rights people from ACE, Monument Impact. It's a really all come together. That's what a coalition pretty much means. It's different orgs from different backgrounds coming together to fight for like immigrant justice in Contra Costa County. And it's not just legal services, it's housing, healthcare, legal services, even education, how to get like parents inside their schools to understand like, hey, there's like things that could affect your children in the future and things like that. There's DACA. I know when I was in college, having DACA was, you don't get any federal student loans, which sucks, but you make it work, and it sucks that you have to make it work. Like, it really does suck. But now student loan forgiveness isn't, you're not a part of it. So you're like, I love you all, but man, sucks to suck sometimes, but we're okay. And I think this is it. We can go on to the, and let's be social. Please add us on Instagram. We have a link tree. I will follow back because I'm a one-man team, you know, like, so I try to make it aesthetically pleasing. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not that funny on Twitter, so I just do more retweets. But yeah, if you all have any questions or comments. Okay, are we good? Or okay. Oh, yeah.
What actions we can take, and we appreciate you taking your time to inform us. Furthermore, one thing, in addition to talking about, what I really want to say is, in addition to calling them out, what additional actions as a community can we do to make not speakers, but our policymakers be held accountable for not keeping their word?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so thank you for that question. So before a board of supervisors meeting or a city council meeting, we have a toolkit. And the toolkit provides, you can send an email, you can call in, or you can be there in person. Most people send emails or call in via Zoom, and that's really easy to do. And if you want to be part of the meetings that we have with senators, congressmen, board of supervisors, even city council, let me know, because we love to have community members there that actually affect some of the policies that are going into effect. Maybe you are an immigrant, maybe you're not, but maybe your rent is really high. So you can be part of these meetings that are regarding that. So then the people in power hear from community members, and it's not just from organizations who are always telling them like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. So you can actually be part of these meetings, and it would be great for anyone to join too. So yeah, in these links, in our Instagram, it has a bit.ly, and you can send me an email. You can also sign up to receive our email. So when we do have an action, or if we do need to send out emails to the Board of Supervisors, a sign-on letter, it's right there. It's a Google form. You just write your name and your email. I asked for phone numbers because essentially my goal is to send out mass text via text, because when we see a text, we look at it right away instead of an email, because I feel like an email, I'm like, you know, so, but yeah, thank you for your question. Hopefully that answered it.
We have a question.
Oh, yeah.
on Zoom. What is the Truth Act?
Okay, so the Truth Act is a statewide policy that passed. Don't remember the year, but the Truth Act is basically to have transparency with community members and the sheriff. So the sheriff has to provide information to the Board of Supervisors or City Council on their data, on how many people they arrested, why they arrested them, and if they were transferred to ICE. Since our sheriff says that he doesn't transfer many people into ICE, we still look into the people that he did transfer. So it's basically to have transparency on like the law enforcement working with ICE. And ICE was created in 2001. So it's not like it's a long public agency. It's not like it's in our history. And even the sheriffs, the history of the sheriff, it goes back to when people were in slavery and they would catch them and bring them back, kill them, or trade them for money. So even the history of the sheriff is very racist. If you do look into it, it's the little star, that star symbol, that was their star symbol when they were killing and murdering people just because they were Black. So it's even reading into that, but the Truth Act is basically for them to provide data and analysis on their transparency with ICE.
Other questions? And also, could you just clarify with Title 42?
Yeah, so Title 42 started when the pandemic started. It basically closed the borders for anybody to seek asylum or to come through. When people think, oh, opening up the borders is gonna like have a floodgate of people, it's not going to, first of all, and second of all, like, understand your history, because these borders were not there before. And Title 42 basically doesn't allow anybody to come in unless they're critically injured. So again, like for example, we have a contact with a woman who's in TJ with her 4 children. And the way I came in contact with her was I helped her mother, who was formerly detained in an immigrant detention center, and we got the mother out. And then the daughter wants to come in, but she can't come in because of Title 42. She has no serious illness that she needs to come in for. Do you all remember a year ago when there was Haitian people at the border and they were rounding them up? It was because they were waiting at the border. There's not a crisis at the border is a crisis. So it's like, before the pandemic happened, it's crazy how these things happen. There's even a detention center in San Diego. They call it the refrigerator because it's so cold. And I'm not telling you these stories because I've been there. I'm telling you these stories because I've seen the people come out of there and be transferred and transferred yet again. The children in cages, it's still happening in Texas and in Arizona. We think that it doesn't happen anymore because it's not in the news, but it's still happening. Even in November of this year, there's an election season happening with your new Board of Supervisors and City Council. So we think, oh, we should only vote in like national elections for presidents. Vote in your City Council and Board of Supervisors, because they're the ones who are going to jack up your rent. They're the ones who are going to vote to not fund immigrant legal services. They're the ones who are going to like vote to give the sheriff additional money. Like they're the ones who are actually going to make the moves that really do impact your day-to-day life. But hopefully that answers your question on Title 42. I went on a tangent. Yes.
That's good. Other questions in the audience? Can I?
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry.
So we can get the Zoom.
Kimberly, thank you so much for taking the time to educate us. I have never heard of Measure X before, and you're elucidating something for me that I am trying to understand how this system works. So there's a tax that's happening that goes into a pool, and then there's a board of supervisors. And then an already overfunded racist department is coming in and stealing the resources we need to do good work. What could we do to hold the supervisors accountable and make actionable difference as community members?
Okay, thank you for your question. So yeah, Measure X was a sales tax in Contra Costa County only. And so when that money was created, all these additional programs applied for additional funding. And some of these programs were the sheriffs, and though I think it was 11 or 20 million, I'm not sure how much, but the money was for additional, I think 100 sheriffs and for body cams. And so the one thing that you can do, we do have the bit.ly, so we have the toolkit. So everything is made for, all you have to do is plug in your name and the city that you live in, and then you're like, I do not support X amount of dollars being funded for the sheriff, or you should fund for the supervisors, or even a mental health service like the Miles Hall Foundation, which is really important. So it's not, the coalition that we are a part of, it's not just immigrant based, but we see it more as like a circle of like making sure, like, I really like animals. So when I hear about the people talking about like the animal service, I'm like, yes, we do. Like, we need to fund these animal services. And so that's one thing you can do. And you can just send your email. The toolkit on the bit.ly is there. I can even give you my card so I can add you to our Google group. So when things do come up, because we do want to have an action in October, November, because the Board of Supervisors, they said that they're not going to fund it. It's going to go to the general funds, but they always just playing like they feel like they give us crumbs and we should be okay with the crumbs. But no, we're not going to be okay with the crumbs, you know? And it's not just immigrants that need it, it's everybody. We need like a rental assistance, housing ordinance. There's like Measure X, general fund, ARPA. Right now, the county has a good amount of money. We're not in debt. And it shows that we can fund these community things. Like, we can maybe fund AB 540 students, undocumented students who need books, who don't get federal student like aid. And so the work is basically there. It's done. You copy and paste it. I can even show you the toolkit. You can bring it up on your phone. Yeah, so you don't have to write up an email. The email's already written up for you. Maybe I'm a little throwing a shade here or there in the email, but maybe you can soften it if you want. But I get pretty aggressive when it comes to Board of Supervisors, because the money is there. And if the community needs it and wants it, why shouldn't we give it to them? So hopefully that answered your question.
Can I have one
Yes.
thing also on this? We've had, going years back, a few years back, students were part of working with Monument Impact and other organizations on the ground were able to push back in those spaces at the Board of Supervisors and force the Contra Costa County Sheriff, David Livingston, to end his contract with ICE and the expansion of the Richmond jail. So there are victories, when students here came together. Right now, we have over 100 folks here in the space. So following, joining in solidarity, acting where you can make a difference. We can all make a difference. And we have those small victories, which was big for a lot of people.
Yeah, we have some discussion in the comment section there as well. Jenny Morales also saying that public comment is really important. But Professor Frank Ortega is saying that all of that you're saying resonates because of especially the recent stunts pulled by the Texas and Florida governors, where they're just sending off people without resources, without any of that. And I suppose the question would be, how do we organize and anticipate this recent thing that's happening here?
Yeah, so the issue with Martha's Vineyard, that is human trafficking at its finest with the governor of Florida. And the governor of Texas. It's insane that they got, I think, around 50 migrants and they shipped them off to Martha's Vineyard thinking, oh, people are there, not going to help them. But essentially, it was a 180. The people in Martha's Vineyard came together, they housed them, they fed them, they provided legal services for them. And that's what community members do when you have someone who is in need. So I think how we all come together people organize differently. Let's say you are into sending email, so you can send an email. You are into making a public comment, you can join a Zoom. You want to be there in person, you can be there in person. And the way to connect is just maybe if you're on social, everybody's on social media. Follow us on social media, not just us, but all of our partners. If you care about healthcare, follow what's going on with the Cocoa Cares. If you want to know more about housing rights, follow Monument Impact when it comes to like, okay, my rent is really high, how can I afford it? Follow Monument Impact. They have tomorrow, they're going to have a city council in Concord in person. Jenny, put it in the chat, or Vanessa. So tomorrow there's going to be something for housing rights in Concord. You can just join and listen and see what it's all about. I know when I used to make public comments, I used to like freak out and cry afterward because I'm like, oh, but you grow and you learn from it, you know, like it's, but yes, anxiety pills help, you know, but like they're prescribed, okay? So, but yes.
So my question is about asylum status. You mentioned how difficult it is to attain asylum status. I've worked with some folks in the Bay Area who work with, refugees from Afghanistan or quote unquote war zones. But we also know that El Salvador is a war zone right now. My wife is from there. There's more people dying per day in El Salvador now than there were in the 80s during the actual war that was happening. And so I'm wondering, given the reality in places like El Salvador, why is asylum status so difficult to attain here in the States currently?
Yeah. So that is a great question, and thank you for that question. Before the pandemic happened, I was a high desert organizer in Southern California, and my job was to provide any services that the folks needed who were detained there. And one of the services was just being there in court. And 90% of the folks who go into court, they file an asylum case. And what asylum means is that if you go back to your home country, you will be killed. And it's really, really hard to win. I don't remember which website it is, but you can look at the web, you can Google asylum cases per country and it'll show you the percentage. I think I remember Mexico was like 4%, El Salvador was like 9%. It's very, very low because the US government doesn't think that if you go back, you're gonna die. But we've had clients who have been killed because they've been transferred back to their native country. And so it's really hard to win because the system was made to send us back. It wasn't made to welcome us. So this is, again, it goes back to the root of who is part of these systems. And the system is the judges not providing immigrants with legal services, whether or not be Contra Costa County or like any other county. Immigrants go in there defenseless, not knowing about the law. If I'm not a lawyer, but if I were to have an immigration case against me, I wouldn't even know what to do. So it's a very scary situation. But a small victory, we had a client and she was an attorney in Venezuela and she advocated for herself during the court hearing and she won all by herself, not knowing the law of the United States, but just knowing that she had the right to be there and she won her asylum case. But unfortunately, a lot of people do not win their asylum cases. And then that creates family separation. Family separation is a very deep rooted colonized institutional thing that is still happening. Like my dad is in Mexico and my family's over here. My family, everybody in my family has citizenship but me. Like Jesus has its favorites and obviously I was not one of them. So it's family separation is still real. It still happens. Families are being separated. I can give you information to Ali Saidi, the attorney who leads the Stand Together. So maybe we could do something to see like, hey, there's people that seek asylum and that really do need help because asylum cases are truly hard to win, but they're even harder without an attorney. So hopefully that answered your question. Any other questions or comments?
One thing, I mean, just to keep in mind is seeking asylum is a legal process. But if we think back to the imagery and in the media, going back where we saw these caravans, the way they're portrayed in the media as being these lawbreakers that are coming in to the territory, to the sovereign land of the United States. They're actually following the law that is enshrined in the 1951 United Nations Protocols on the Refugee. And I think to answer Professor Cornejo's question here, we're thinking about really complicating when we take verbatim what those who make policy, who influence outcomes, when they do not come from those shithole countries. So race and racism are fundamental, have always been in every immigration policy in United States history, going back to the founding of the Constitution in 1789 and the first citizenship law in 1790, which was fundamentally made racialized as pure whiteness, right? It's in the law. So anything we debate now, it's where do migrants come from? Preferably from Norway, right? I'm quoting somebody. I'm quoting some folks. And that's the mindset that's always coming through every policy from that initial moment, and it's to the present. Who to let in? It's not, it's arbitrary. It is not objective, follow the law. There is no law that serves all universally. It is very selective. So, and I just, go ahead.
Can I just add to that? So this is Sangha. I feel these questions very personally, being an immigrant, a first generation immigrant myself. There's certainly the racist history and the ongoing racism that's built into our policies and structures. But I think to a large extent, we also perpetuate a narrative of worthy versus unworthy immigrants. And I'm wondering how we can fight that narrative that you don't need to be extraordinary to want a peaceful life with your family. Because too often we celebrate those stories, right? Of the Harvard graduate who did this and that. And I'm wondering how we fight against those narratives and if you come across that in your work as well.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely. That's something we always talk about, the worthy versus unworthy immigrant. And that's something that we always keep in mind. Just because you graduated from UC Davis and you speak English doesn't make you better than someone who's working in the campesinos. So everybody's equal, which brings me back to DACA. When DACA was first started, everybody was like, oh, this is so great. I love it. Yes. What about the 11 other undocumented immigrants? There was still 11 million that was left at the table, not welcomed at the table. And so to me, having DACA isn't a celebration. It's more of a, what can I do to make sure that the 11 million have their chance as I did? Just because of an age, just because of something else different. It truly, you really have to understand, and also check your own privilege. Just because I have DACA doesn't mean I'm unprivileged. I speak English and I have a driver's license. I don't have to worry about getting pulled over, you know? That's a privilege. I have a job and I have healthcare insurance. That's a privilege, because when I was 26 and undocumented, I didn't have healthcare or even a job. So it's like your life can really change 180 just having that social security number, which sucks. But yeah, it's just making sure that everybody has a seat at the table, and not just the 11 million undocumented immigrants here, but also the people who want to come here, who are seeking to come here. Obviously, I've been on TikTok a lot and watching about what's happening in Iran, and it's I don't know, it hits differently when women are just being murdered. So yes. Oh, I'm so sorry.
As I continue to live here in the United States, I think all of us either know someone or have been directly impacted and displaced, either family-wise or ourselves, due to the United States actions. However, the policymakers in this country have a way of saying, we ruined your country, but it's your fault. We victimize ourselves, Americans, rather than taking accountability for our actions, further implementing this colonial mindset. As an Iranian, my father, when the hostage crisis came, I didn't know this until the older I got and he became more comfortable to share his stories, had to go and line up in immigration services, and to this day we're blacklisted. And whenever we go on a plane abroad, we suffer from this. What people don't understand is we all suffer from similar things from this colonial mindset, yet we tend to play this identity politics and say my issue is more important than yours when we're all suffering and feeling the ripple effects of this. But how can we make policymakers understand they're suffering, or not suffering, but they are seeing the consequences of their actions, yet not taking accountability of everyone's suffering, further inducing this generational trauma that as of right now, I do not feel is getting better. I think as a generation, as a younger generation of Gen Z, we're starting to see and understand and fight back. But it's overwhelming because this whole country, we say it's about freedom, we say it's about all these things, but we're the hypocrites. We took this land, it's not even our own, and we capitalize off of slave labor by ripping people from Africa, from their families, and bringing them here. How do we stop this change and have them see that it's not minuscule, it's, there are consequences to these actions, and the majority of people here today are feeling it. The more I understand how Natives had this thing of a consensus, and how if one person didn't agree, then we're not going, everyone is on the right foot. But we don't have this education here higher education now, and at DVC giving me the platform to understand the severity of this is one thing, but we're failing high school students and below by not talking and expressing these issues in such detail. I used to, when I was in high school, say, okay, we're talking about Latinx, the Latinx community, the African American community, we're talking about all these things, not to the same detail as we do now. But what about me as an Iranian woman who is feeling my parents' pain as being displaced here? What about us? The only time they mentioned us was on 9/11 discussing xenophobia, but as a misunderstood group, we constantly feel this pain of being, categorized and stereotyped as the bad guy, but people don't really want to understand where all of this comes from. El Salvadorians, we've taken place in their pain and in war, and we've monetized off of the entire detriment of South America, Central America, and people don't really understand how difficult it is to get even to Mexico from these countries to try and have a better life. And not because they wanted it, but because the US made it so, and other westernized countries made it so that their living conditions in their home country are unbearable, that they have to come here. Sorry.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you, Kimberly. That was incredible. I love the jokes. We need it because it's heavy subject. My name is Malika, and I'm an organizer with California Immigrant Policy Center. So we work on very similar things, but on a state level. So we do like state level policy as opposed to like county. And I was a student of Professor Nyogi. She was my favorite sociology professor at DVC and just gave me so much power. Like a memory I have that I always remember you saying was like we were talking about the different concepts that people bring up to you, and they say like, well, what about this? Like, what about that? And I always remember you distinctly saying, well, whenever you ask me that question as a sociologist, remember the framework that I'm coming from. And it always stays with me because like that's people bring up so many things, and it's just like, we're talking about systems here, right? Like we're not talking about your personal experience. So I just wanted to speak to what you said about the good immigrant versus bad immigrant narrative. And I wanted to also highlight, I know we're talking about organizing a lot here, which is like one medium, like one way to fight these things. But then there's also like other mediums to do that, right? There's also people who do communications and do messaging. So we have an entire team of communications folks in our organization that spend their days and nights thinking about how do we frame like the things that we're asking for, right? Like what are the words that we're choosing, what is the language that we're choosing, so that we don't keep perpetuating this, the people who deserve and the people who don't deserve, right? Like who deserves safety net, who deserves Medi-Cal, who deserves whatever. So one of the biggest campaigns that we have been working on for the past few years, and it is about our win, and like that's something that in this line of work we are always like, we want more, we want more, we want more. So we talk about our wins like less, and the things that we don't have more. But something that's really incredible is that my organization with our partners for the past few years have been fighting for Medi-Cal to be given to undocumented immigrants, right? Like undocumented immigrants in California don't have access to Medi-Cal, don't have health insurance. Huge problem always. The pandemic happens, and of course, it's even a bigger problem. But we have had to fight for that incrementally. So at first we won it for kids, then we won it for young adults, then we won it for seniors when the pandemic happened. And then just now, like just this year, we were finally able to like close that gap and get it to everyone. So it's a huge win, like, right? It's like healthcare is very, very important. And again, healthcare is an issue that people can understand and care about, right? Everyone feels sick, like it doesn't matter if you're white, like, so, but even within that, we have to be very thoughtful about like, okay, we want to say that undocumented immigrants pay taxes, right? Like they pay taxes, they give so much to the economy, they deserve to also have safety net. But also like just because somebody doesn't pay taxes doesn't mean that they don't deserve healthcare, right? So like thinking about, should we say we need undocumented immigrants to be integrated in our California safety net? Or we say, actually, our safety net in California is excluding Californians, right? So like the messaging, the words that we use matter a lot in the way that we go about it. And then some issues like healthcare are so much easier to talk about or for people to grasp. And then we have some issue like the Vision Act, where it's like, these are folks with criminal records. And then people are like, well, you know, if you're a criminal, like you're already in this country, you shouldn't be here. And so why should I offer my sympathy in that way, right? So then it becomes even more important. That's why we talk about family separation a lot. And we say, well, if a family is separated, that is an unsafe community, right? Like that creates an unsafe community in the first place. Yeah, so I just was thinking about all of this, and I wanted to say, organizing is one way, policy is another way. If you like research, if you like writing, you can do policy. If you like messaging, if you like to think about how we're talking about things, there's messaging. Like there's so many different routes to go about it. And they're all like open for you, just like to explore the medium that you're excited about. And also on the last note that I'm also Iranian, I have been sleeping at like 2 a.m., waking up at 7, just from like watching the videos of what's happening. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. I understand it's a very nuanced thing that people are not used to. But the call to action is that I really, really beg all of you to please read about it and to share about it on your social media pages. The internet has been censored and shut down as an attempt to stop the news from coming out. So it's more than just like, oh, I'm going to reshare to show my solidarity. It's actually a direct way to fight censorship so that we have videos of who's getting killed, right? So please share. That's
To answer your question, what can we do as like a society to move forward? I'm a big fangirl of Gen Z. I feel like that generation, I feel like when a new generation comes, the older generations are like, oh, our generation was better. Gen Z is killing it. I do not care. I'm a millennial, but Gen Z is killing the game. You guys do so much. First of all, your hacking skills. Like I can't even update my computer. So I'm like, wow. But yeah. So I mean, it's really cool what you all do. The way that you all just be who you are and show like solidarity within each other is amazing. As a millennial watching the Gen Zers, I'm really proud. I'm really, really proud. But to answer your question on how we can like do better, take their seat. Take their seat. They're gonna die sooner or later. So run for Congress, run for your city council, run for your board of supervisors, or retire, not die. Sorry, I'm morbid. But they're gonna leave. So take their seat. Why let another white supremacist white male take that? I forgot who told me this. Maybe it was TikTok. Have the confidence of a mediocre white man. And it has worked for me. So but yeah, it's basically just take their seat and make sure that the policies that are being implemented can go into effect, will do positive within your community. And it takes time. But so far, Gen Z's generation, you guys are heading in the right direction a lot quicker than the millennials did ever. So I did see a hand. Okay, went away. What was it? Oh, remember to take.
I just wanted to ask, is there any current like legal movement or organization that is actually pushing for like public defenders to be provided for immigrants currently?
Or else we don't have a record if we don't. Yeah, I know, this is good.
Yeah, so for Contra Costa County, there is Stand Together, which is a program under the Public Defender's Office and which is led by our steering, Ali Saidi. And so that is to provide immigrant who's up for like a deportation, like they're basically their public defender, but for immigrant court. So yeah, there is. And then you can sign up to be part of the Google group. So then when we do make public comment, let's say in October or November, you can make the public comment in person, Zoom, or email. So hopefully by then I'll have the technology of sending out a text message, but I need a Gen Zer in my team, so.
Also, if you're here at DVC, also the Dreamers Alliance, if you can just hook into that, link in. We have lots of resources. We also have legal services. Christine, you want to say something about the legal services that we have?
Yes, we are able to provide legal services to our community college, specifically LMC, CCC, DVC students and employees in partnership with IIBA, the Immigration Institute of the Bay Area. And we'll be having them actually here in person on campus starting October 5th. So if you want information, please come and see me. We just got a new partner, Luis Ramirez, who we'll be working with, who's actually an LMC alum and Kennedy King Scholar. So we're very lucky to have him and be able to build that connection for our students in our community while we're here.
Okay, and we have about 3 minutes left in our program, and then we'll set up our closing.
Additionally, I know we're focusing on Contra Costa alone, but I'm part of an organization called BAM, which is By Any Means Necessary. They got in touch with my high school and they advocate for undocumented immigrants and DACA and all of these things as well. They pay for a lot of students to go to get their higher education to become lawyers to help with these sort of issues as well. And, you know, there's more than one resource. And as a community, I hope we move together and do great things.
And if you can drop that in the chat, if
Yeah.
you have access, that'd be great. So now, no, stay up here, stay up here. Do you want anything to close? Sangha, do you want to close this? So let's give Kimberly a big round of applause. This has been great. It's been great to have you all in this space. You know, we have over 100 people. This is amazing. And virtual, we've been working with the technology and it's working. We do want to announce our next social justice speaker series. And we're just going to close, and I hope you have one of our, oh, go ahead.
I do see my family on Zoom. So they're in I'm the only one that moved over here. So Tierica, I see you. She just grabbed her phone. Hi, Tierica. Yeah, that's my Tierica. So family and community and support is really, you can do a lot of things. I remember when I was in Davis, you couldn't get any federal aid and I lived off of $20 a day and my tiarica would send me money just to like eat. So I'm getting really emotional just seeing my aunt there. So, and hopefully my nieces and nephews are there. They were like, can you give us a shout out? And I'm like, sure. So, but yes, thank you so much for having me. And this was amazing. You all are great people.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you all for being here in person and folks online. This was just the perfect way to get our fall semester speaker series started. And we will be back here in the Diablo room at 4 p.m. on October 10th with Professor Danny Cornejo, who is our brand new professor in the Ethnic Studies Department. And he'll be leading our talk and discussion for Indigenous Peoples Day. So I can't wait to have that. Thank you again, folks. Let's keep this going. Let's keep building. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you all for being here. Yeah, everybody talk. Talk, Lincoln, drop the chat.
Everyone who's interested in the Social Justice Club, at the back, there's flyers, and we have a QR code, so you can join the Discord and also join their.
Now let me stop the recording.
Where's it?